Dear colleagues, in a few days we'll be saying goodbye to 2020. For all of us, this past year has been difficult. Although Cambodia has been spared from the health crisis we see in many countries of the world, we have not escaped the disastrous consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic on the lives, livelihoods, and future prospects of vulnerable Cambodians. COVID is a defining moment for the United Nations. In no other time in our history have we been called upon to step up and mobilize global solidarity at the scale and magnitude required by this health, human, and planetary crisis. We had three priorities. 1, save lives and stop the spread of the virus. 2, mitigate the socioeconomic impact. 3, recover better from the pandemic. The UN has made significant progress on these priorities. In Cambodia, I am proud and appreciative of all your contributions to the pandemic response. I commend and thank WHO, in particular, Pauline and her team for their dedication, commitment, and tireless efforts to contain and prevent the spread of the virus while preparing at the same time for a large-scale outbreak. It is impressive to see in action how WHO has worked with the royal government to strengthen existing systems, not only to deal with the current crisis, but also prepare for future ones. Thank you, WHO. But we all played a part. Every one of us in the UN country team, from heads of agencies to program, operations, and project staff, all supported national efforts to ensure that health services are delivered, that people are protected, and social services reach those who need it the most. Not only lives, but jobs and livelihoods are safeguarded, that fiscal stimulus measures are invested first and foremost in the most vulnerable, and that society remains cohesive and communities resilient in the face of the pandemic. Your agency's ability to repurpose to the rapidly changing needs shows the continued relevance of our work in Cambodia. COVID was personal. Dealing with the pandemic was not something we could leave behind in the office. The pandemic affected every part of our lives. We had to adapt the way we lived and how we cared for our families, how we worked, and yes, even how we interacted with each other. For this, I am indebted to the Duty of Care team, Danka, Christine, Ailan, Dr. Kim Lee, Kolab, Nimol, and many more of you who went beyond your official functions for our collective safety and well-being. I am inspired by how all of you helped to find solutions to shape a new normal. Thank you for your openness, flexibility, and willingness to learn by doing. These will be the same attitudes and behaviors we will all need to recover better. Next year will be equally difficult. We will need to remain resilient in the face of continued challenges. In 2021, we renew our commitment to ensure that no one is left behind and that we are truly able to build back better from the pandemic. How do we do this? We heard during the UN 75 community conversations that our aspirations for the future are common. No matter where we come from, we all want to leave the world a better place for our children. In aspiring for a better quality of life, we heard the notion that fulfilling people's needs are simply fulfilling people's rights. The same aspirations for peace, justice, human rights, social progress, and better standards of life and larger freedoms embodied in the UN Charter 75 years ago still hold true today. We will strengthen our efforts to accelerate actions to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. The SDGs remain our roadmap. As we usher in the new year, we keep our focus on saving lives and stopping the transmission of the virus, mitigating the socioeconomic impact of the pandemic, and building back better by standing up for human rights. We can only achieve this with the same leadership and solidarity that each one of you have demonstrated in the past year. The pandemic has taught us that we are stronger together. I wish you and your families a safe and healthy new year. Samakun.